Hi, Alexis.
Hi, Rémi.
How's it going?
I'm good. And you?
Oh, yeah, very good. Listen.
So you are a product manager at Sky Agriculture.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little about your work?
So the role of a product manager today is very hybrid between the farmers or users in a broad sense. And then the design office, the idea is often to be very, very close to the use, to the needs.
To bring that back to the design office and especially support all the developers during the development process to ensure that everything done perfectly matches the expected use.
Okay, so the product is this Progress TF.
Yeah. So, explain to me a little bit what the project is about.
So the Progress TF project is a great project for us. Actually, it is there to meet major needs. I want to say there are three main uses. The principle on which the development of this project is based is mainly already the development of multi-products. So we can clearly see that more and more today it's becoming a standard to sow not just a single seed, but to plant multiple seeds. 2, 3, 4 seeds, or even one seed and the product. So it could be fertilizers, a whole bunch of things. And then in the seeds, we might also find sometimes mixtures of grains. It could be mixed crops, cover crops, or companion cropping techniques. And then we also have varietal mixes. There are all kinds of uses that can exist after that. The second main use is also mainly dual location, and that's really a very big progress we made with Progress TF. What we offer farmers now is the ability to localize several seeds at multiple depths, multiple products, at various depths, at different locations. It can be separated rows or different depths. And then the third main usage is, it's the high flow rates, the fertilization in spring, often at high speeds or wide widths, which require a pretty powerful system for that.
So you told us about fertilizing in the spring, sowing in the autumn. At the end, can we use this Progress TF all year round?
Yes, it's kind of like the principle of front hoppers. The big advantage is that they are generally very modular tools that can be used throughout the year. And the big advantage of Progress TF indeed is that thanks to its side pipe, you can quite easily switch it from one tractor to another. The idea is to use it generally in the spring for either spring sowing or fertilization linked with a single grain seeder, everything related to summer cover cropping. So either associated with a seeder or with a cultivator. And then often the autumn sowing is done with a classic combine. And so it's really an advantage to be able to use it throughout the year, which means that you really make good use of this kind of equipment.
Now that we have the product manager with us, what we want is to learn a bit about the secrets of Progress TF. How did you develop the product?
Yeah, so the how is very, very important on how we manage to achieve those high output levels or those things. To put it simply, it's the pressurized distribution. So actually, we really moved to a pressurized system at the level of distribution to be able to already locate the products in the distributions we want, and then above all, to be able to achieve very high throughput. So actually, it's quite simple. Today, Progress TF, we went for an architecture with the side turbine that really pushes air into a fitting. So actually, we have an air divider system with air flaps. We can adjust from 0 to 100% opening. On the side of distribution B or distribution A here, we will find 2 distributions that are under the hopper, and each hopper will be able to pour inside. Between the hopper, therefore the dosing system, and the distribution, we will actually find a technology that is truly unique to Sky Agriculture, which is a patented sluice system that allows us precisely to incorporate a product into a distribution. Pressurized distribution without the hopper being pressurized, that is relatively important because it allows us to have a pressurized area that is much more restricted. Thus, we limit the possibilities of leaks. This allows us to open the hopper even during the project without risking any danger at home. But it also allows us to actually incorporate up to 4 products. And I would even say more if needed, but today on Progress TF, we have the possibility to incorporate up to 4 products. So we have the mini hoppers on this side. So we will actually find the 2 main large hoppers in the main tank, and we have the ability to add up to 2 additional products. We will talk of micro products for doses in general, up to 25 kilograms per hectare, that we will be able to integrate right in there. So we will go with 2 main products plus 2 products referred to as micro. So I can show you on the other side how it works. Actually, it's quite simple. Here we will find the main meter, which will allow us to correctly measure the seed. And then below we have our lock system. So here I can open it, and inside, in fact, we have the rotor. It's a polyurethane rotor. So if I manage to take it out like this, it takes a little bit of force there. So as it happens, it is constrained within its body, and therefore it's actually a quite simple system in principle, but nonetheless it really allows us to seal properly. On the peripheral parts, as well as on the end part of the rotor, so we will really have a pressure difference between the distribution part below and the dosing part above. So this really has the big advantage of being able to release the pressure. So actually this also allows us to significantly lighten the front hopper. It allows us to add different products. It helps us avoid leaks in the hopper, so we always have a system that is ultimately functional. So that's it for that, and then underneath we will find, so I will put this down, and underneath we'll find a flap system that will allow us to send the product either to distribution B or to distribution A. And this will actually allow us to meet all the major uses that will be necessary on the farm, whether it's supplying 2 distribution heads, one on the right, one on the left, or 2 distribution heads, one in front, one behind, to supply different rows or different depths. In fact, what we see is that for these uses, we offer equipment behind. We have a whole range. See the combinations or even distribution heads on our cultivators, but in fact, there is still a large portion of farmers who still prefer to buy distribution heads alone. And then, well, they're going to almost customize their usage on the farm, or even almost to the tool. Sometimes we find 2 slightly different configurations on the farm, you know. So after that, Progress TF was a very big project for us. Really matching all uses, I would say, of the year 2025. So one of the things that was very, very important, we worked on the machine's ergonomics and then everything related to instrumentation. In fact, we realized this when we were with the farmers, that, well, it must be possible to delegate driving to someone relatively easily, even if the use can be quite complicated in terms of seat positioning or whatever. But that's why we equipped it. So it's not necessarily actuators. Most settings remain manual, but we will have sensors behind each setting that will be there to ensure the machine is properly adjusted according to what the farmer expects. So, well, here, for example, we will be able to select, we have a knob, we can select distribution A. So we'll send all our product to distribution A or position B. Based on that, we have sensor systems that will inform the system about how we have already set our distribution. And then it will recommend settings for air vent opening. And actually, it's up to the farmer to come and adjust, for the user to adjust their air flap. However, we always have instrumentation that really allows us to ensure that the adjustment made truly corresponds to the optimal functioning of the machine. And that is relatively important. Here we will find our little control panel for the flow test. Here we will find all the settings. We have full accessibility that will be here.
After that, for the additional hopper, we will find the instructions inside to perform our flow tests, the entire dosing system, in this case of the third hopper, and then after that, everything related to the accessibility to the main hopper. The visibility, that's something we've worked on a lot because actually it's very important when you go over a front hopper, well, that it remains comfortable and safe both on the road and in the field. So as a result, we worked on the visibility to really match the average tractors available on the market. There are vision systems with cameras that have relatively specific viewing angles designed to see far down the road to avoid having too wide an angle and seeing things at the last moment. So these are really well developed features. Also everything that is lighting, work lighting as well as setting lighting. So I allow myself, I go back down, but in fact we will find work lights for the field. Like inside the frame, we will find adjustment headlights that are hidden here, up there, which will allow us even, well, I don't know, early in the morning or late in the evening, to continue to see, well, all the settings or all the machine's components.
And after that, we will find the main accessibility.
So here we have the two main hoppers. So these are specific screens for fertilizer use. So in general, well, it's to prevent getting some lumps of fertilizer that fall to the bottom and then can hinder proper distribution. So we find the two hoppers and then the accessibility to the mini hoppers with the filling here that will be done from the main gateway. So in the end, it remains quite simple in terms of accessibility, which is quite important to be able to correspond to all uses. That's something that is really in demand, to have a simple and quick control. That's why we also have cameras in the hopper, which will allow us to see the grain level. It's important to know that we are also working on a whole bunch of elements that will allow us to better control these hopper filling aspects, to always be able to optimize the logistics around the sowing site a bit, you know. I spoke to you earlier as well. I was telling you that we use the front hopper all year round. There is one of the equipment in general that is not necessarily used in the same way throughout the year. It will be the front roller. So the front roller, in fact, it has been the subject of significant work. We have benefited from the experience we had already gained on Axios TF. We already had quite a bit of experience with front rollers, and that was really a point of pride for us. Keep a front roller with very large wheels, because today it's something, the power consumption, it's something that is really key. And actually, the ability to use it even in the autumn in situations that are sometimes a bit complicated, well, there's no secret. It's really the diameter of the front roller, the wheels of the front roller, that will make it possible to reduce power consumption and especially to be able to go anywhere, you know, without causing too much damage to the ground. So basically, we already started with specific radial tires that really allow us to have a very consistent grip, above all, not very deep, because what we really want is to press on the surface without limiting or creating damage to the root development of the crops behind. So it's really the radial tire that allows us to do that, as well as the large diameter tire. So we positioned it really at the front. It also allows us to balance the hopper masses between the tractor and the front roller. So why a two-wheeler? Because actually, first, we really only press down on the inside part of the tractor's path. So really, we have a surface that is really, the non-compacted surface is the smallest possible with this kind of roller in front, because we'll really go look for the available space between the two tractor wheels, and also actually Also, because having a two-wheeler allows us to have direction, really a self-steering handlebar as flexible as possible. So that's really important because with the development of GPS, we encourage the control of GPS on the tractor, and actually it presses the front, it becomes forgettable in terms of driving, you know. So it really drives itself. And on the other hand, well then, there are times of the year when farmers told us, well yeah, but for example in the summer, I don't necessarily need the front roller and I might want to replace it with something else. So we've developed a detachable or removable front roller system. Actually, it's not removable, it's really detachable. And so, as a result, we have the crutches that are permanently attached. And then, in fact, we will be able to come install these stands on the front ballast. I might not do it completely right now, but we'll remove the axis here. And then with the hooks, when I start my tractor, I'll detach and lower the front ballast to the ground. There will be a tool carrier system left at the front, which will be available to take on a charge still around 350 to 400 kilograms like the front roller. So that's it for this equipment that was historically always permanently mounted on the front hopper. But now we have made it truly detachable to really suit uses throughout the year. Something that has truly been a very, very important task, I was going to say really, is all the software part control, feedback, as I mentioned earlier. In fact, we had experience with activation, deactivation systems, which used to be double. We always had this hydraulic system that allowed us to use automatic functions that were often controlled by hydraulic functions on the tractors. And then we had the position detection system for the front hopper. And so that's something we've greatly improved. So I'm going to invite you to go that way. We now have an angular sensor system that really allows us to detect the exact position of the hopper in relation to the tractor. And that, in fact, we are going to detect the position, but more importantly, set the threshold for activation and deactivation of the hopper, actually, from the cabin. And that changes everything because the setting, in fact, is controllable, always from the driver's seat. So actually, depending on the phases of work, we can influence that quite easily. And actually, we know directly in terms of driving if it's really the right threshold or not. After that, we also worked on auxiliary features. In fact, we're always working further on Isobus. Today, Isobus features really take precedence over functions, I would say more historical ones like hydraulic control. So now the AUXN is standard on the machine. The tramline control too, it means that the task controller of the tractor or the console in the cabin will take control over the tramlining guidance, and those are very significant points that were requested to increase productivity. In fact, planting in rows was mandatory until then, simply to be able to comply with the staking counts. But now actually we can plant in beds. This is no longer a problem at all, since it's the GPS line number that will determine whether the hopper or the seeder is tramlining or not, quite simply. So all Isobus functionality, we are really at the forefront because these are functionalities that are not yet widely adopted, I would say, in rural areas. And here today, so we, Progress TF, is compatible with that. So today there are still few task controllers on the market that offer it, but these are things that are spreading quite quickly, especially since there are often updates that enable this kind of functionality. So even equipment already in use. So tractors already in the field today that may not be compatible now will become compatible with an update. And their Progress TF in terms of features is already ready. So that's that. And also a big element that was frequently requested by farmers was the ability to facilitate switching from one tractor to another, or actually mainly to reduce the impact of the side tube of front hoppers. So we worked quite a bit with colleagues on that. There were quite a few proposals, and one of the main elements that came up, in fact, is simply that the side pipe is carried by the front hopper. So actually, it's really the Progress TF at the front pipe level that carries one of the two pipes, and after that, the second one will be fixed on top. We have a pivot point here. It allows us to have only one support at the back. We end up with a small roller with a guide system that will allow us to keep the pipe at the back, so it helps to limit the support. So either we'll make a support here like this on this tractor. We also have tractors like this one that actually offer support on the cabin. And the big advantage we have is that since it is a sliding system, well, in fact, even if the cabin is suspended, it doesn't really pose any difficulties because by definition, it is a mobile system. And then we will just end up with the two pipes at the back and the CAN bus, which is much lighter than before since the isobus socket is now located at the front of Progress TF, not at the back.
The big advantage of this is that it frees up the rear isobus socket for a second piece of equipment like a seeder or something else.
So there you have it in broad strokes, the main points we worked on. I would say, in summary really, a very big effort on pressurization, which remains the core of our system. The key element that has opened up all the uses I mentioned earlier, so I'll go over it a little, but several products, several depths, very high flow rates, and that remains ultimately the main priority. So thanks to the lock, we were able to unblock that. And then after that, all the ergonomic and control features. Control to always make sure we have the right setting for the expected use. And then, well, as I was telling you, all the ergonomic elements to always minimize time loss. For example, we'll find here, I'll give you some examples. We'll find here our hand washing container to make sure we always have clean hands, or at least already have a little bit of water available to wash a small piece or whatever. And then very clear instructions to avoid wasting time on things that are sometimes quite basic, because even if we use them all year round, one thing we had also noticed is that it remains equipment that is often seasonal, and it's not always easy to find your way around in terms of usage each time. So the more we work on ergonomics, at least for us, the more we gain in efficiency afterwards.
So I don't know if that answers your big questions, Remy.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's a great product. Anyway, you can see there's a lot of work behind it.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of work. Anyway, there's an awesome team. There's an awesome project team really dedicated. It's been quite a few hours with moments sometimes of doubt, of laughter, but anyway, a lot of fun working on this project with new technologies. We included quite a bit of rotational molding, which allows us to make parts that are sometimes quite simple. But you see, for example, everything that has to do with visibility, it was really made possible for us precisely thanks to those industrial technologies. We have great technologies and a great team behind it.
Yes. You have always tried to make it simple and effective for the farmer, right?
As we always say, I guess the devil is in the details, and I would like to say success is in the details, especially here. It's really the simplicity and efficiency in terms of settings and accessibility that will make us gain those precious minutes during a seeding project.
Thank you, Alexis, for this beautiful presentation.
Well, no problem. Have a nice day then. Bye.